Hi beaders, it's Aga from Eureka Crystal Beads, and today it's our absolute pleasure to give the floor to our wonderful designer friend Gina from Orchid and Opal Jewelry and Beads. Tune in for her original tutorial making the Maritime Opulence earrings. This project is a super special collaboration because all the beads needed to make it come from the Maritime Opulence Beadway box that Gina curated for us. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to both our and Gina's YouTube channels. Gina, take it away.
Hey everyone, it's Gina from Orchid and Opal. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm doing a tutorial for these beautiful earrings. I came up with this design totally special for the Maritime Opulence themed Beadway boxes that I helped put together with Eureka Crystal Beads. There's 3 different colorways and everything will be linked right down below the video. If you'd like to make these earrings, you can pick up one of those Maritime Opulence boxes and you'll have more than enough beads to make yourself a pair of these earrings with the 5 materials included. So as you can see today, we're going to be using some of the 2-hole check glass bar beads, the Drop Duos, Toho size 8/0 demi-round seed beads, and also some Toho 11/0 and 8/0 seed beads. The earring findings are not included in the box, neither is the thread or the needle, but that is something you can also pick up at Eureka Crystal Beads. They've got tons of great stuff over there if you don't have everything you need. But the boxes, like I said, will contain all 5 tubes of these beads, which is more than enough. To get started today, we're going to be using some of the 6-pound Fireline beading thread. You can use any thread that's comparable to that, and I'd like to use a size 11 beading needle. So go ahead and trim off about 3 to 4 feet of beading thread, thread your needle, gather up your materials, and we can jump into this tutorial. All right, so I have the beads laid out for what we're first going to put together, and we can start out with a demi, a drop duo going through the wider portion, followed by a demi, another drop duo, a demi, and then we'll pick up 5 bar beads. I'm going to go ahead and string these down just a little bit down my thread so I can load up some more beads. And then we'll pick up a demi, a drop duo, a demi, a 15/0, a demi, a drop duo, a demi, and 5 more bar beads. And we're going to bring these down and we can start to form these into a loop. They're going to be the inside of our earring. I'm not using a stop bead. If you want to use one though, that is totally up to you. I'm going to sew through all of the beads again, going through the same holes, holding both pieces of thread and pulling so that these all come together nice and tight. And this is going to be the bottom where we have that 15/0. It differentiates the bottom from the top. Make sure you don't miss any beads, especially that little 15/0. And I'm going to keep sewing all around till I get back to where I started, continuing on through the next drop duo. And that's how it's going to be laid out like that. I'm going to still hold on to that tail thread, and right now I'm going to sew right underneath the thread bridge next to that demi bead that comes up, making a loop and then sewing through the loop and then pulling. That is a half hitch knot right next to that drop duo bead. Let's keep sewing through the demi and that next drop duo. Pull tight and keep sewing till you get to the bottom section of that earring where that 15/0 is, going through those 5 bar beads, through the demi and that next section, and come out of that second drop duo that you get to after the 15/0 and demi. And I'm going to make one more half hitch knot right there and pull tight on both of those threads to bring that all together once again. And then step up through the open hole of your next drop duo bead And down there, what you'll want to do is go ahead and pick up a demi, a 15-0 and a demi, and then sew through the wide portion of another drop duo, and then follow that up with demi, 15-0, and another demi. And then sew through the open hole of your next drop duo bead. You can see that little peak that's formed at the what will be the bottom of our earring. And then in between this drop duo and the bar bead, we'll pick up a demi, 15-0, and a demi. Sew through the open hole of the next bar bead that you get to, pull, and then in between the next 4 bar beads, you're going to add an 11-0 seed bead. So I picked up one, I'm going to sew through the open hole of the next one and repeat that 3 more times. And I like to just hold that beadwork with my finger there in the center to keep that in place as I'm sewing through these outer holes. Next, we'll pick up another demi, a 15-0, a demi, sew through the more pointed portion of the next drop duo bead, then pick up a 15-0, a demi, a bar bead, a demi, and a 15-0, and sew through that next drop duo bead there. And now we can continue on making this symmetrical on the other side. So demi, 15-0, and demi, and through the next bar. And now we're back to the point where we're going to pick up an 11-0 and insert that in between each of these bar beads. Just keep pulling that snug with each pass. Now we're going to pick up our demi, 15-0, and demi, sew through that next drop duo bead and pull that nice and tight, and you can see how our earring shape has come together now. And right at this point, I'm going to sew underneath the thread bridge to make another half-hitch knot. There's that loop, sewing through the loop and making sure you place that knot right in between the demi and the drop duo. Again, this is just securing what we have so far. And now I'm going to continue sewing through all of those beads that we just went through to reinforce and tighten up this outer section. So just one at a time, again, being careful that you grab all the beads, including those little tiny 15-0s, as you go around to reinforce the outside. And just go through as many beads at once as you feel comfortable and take your time. And at that point, we'll pick up 2 15-0s, sew through the open hole of that same bar bead, pick up 2 15-0s, sew through the bottom hole of the same bar bead. And that's what we have so far. Now you can sew up through the 2 15-0s that are on the side there. Pull tight. For the time being, I'm going to set that needle down, and I'm going to put a needle on my tail thread so we can get that out of the way and also reinforce that center section of beads. So let's put a needle on our tail thread. Let me do that and I'll be right back. All right, so now with my needle on the tail thread, just taking that where it was and sewing through that inside section again, just to bring those beads together and reinforce it a little bit more, tightens it up a bit. And then continue sewing. And then I'll try to make one more half hitch knot if I can. Right there. And then just go a little bit till I run out of my thread. All right, now I'm going to trim it right here. Pick up 2 more 15-0s, an 11-0, and 2 more 15-0s. And now sew down through the 2 15-0s that are on the right, just like that, and then through the bar bead again, pulling that nice and tight. And we'll sew through those 4 15-0s again, and then come out of the 11-0 that's at the top. Pick up 4 15-0s and sew through the 11-0 again. That starts to form that little loop where our finding is going to be positioned. And we just want to reinforce that section, so go around that at least one more time. 2 times is probably preferable. Here we go, it feels nice and strong, and then I'm going to sew down through those 4 15-0s on this side. And sew through the bar bead. And I'm going to continue sewing through the next demi, the 15-0 demi, and so on. If you want to make a couple of half hitch knots as you go, you can certainly do that. And if you find you need to switch to a smaller size 12 beading needle, you can do that as well. That is up to you. And at this point, we have finished our beadwork for this earring. So I am making my half hitch knots just in a couple of spots to secure the beading thread. You can sew around this as much as you want, wherever you want, in order to reinforce your earring if you find there's any spots that need a little extra tension. And then you can take your scissors or trimming device, trim off your excess thread. And at that point, you can insert an earring finding right there at the top through that loop of your beadwork, and you are all set. So go ahead and back up the video if you need to make your second earring to complete your pair. And once you do that, we can come back and admire our work.
Wow, that was Gina from Orchid and Opal in a special tutorial for Eureka Crystal Beads. We hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and for the Beadway boxes as well as any other beading supplies, visit us at eurekacrystalbeads.com.